The double standards with She-Hulk are insane, and they only continue to get worse as the show keeps progressing. Episode 4, I believe it was, just recently dropped. I suffered through it, and I'm going to give my opinions thus far of what we've seen, including some very specific details that I've seen in the latest episode that I just think are absolutely ridiculous. Now, let me go ahead and dive in here. I'm showing pictures because otherwise you're just going to see a talking head, and that might be this just helps. So obviously this was the last episode where it ended. I'm not going to touch too much on this because I'm trying to focus mostly on just cumulatively how all of the episodes have been, and especially with a lot of emphasis on this latest one, which I feel like is one of the more egregious ones. Now, a lot of people were talking about this. This made some waves, and I think the biggest problem with this is just the hypocrisy of it. Now, the scene itself is, a little cringe or whatever, but it's not a big deal, right? But it's the hypocrisy of it that she complains about being catcalled and all this kind of stuff. And then in this scene, she's twerking at work in her office, which honestly, if you really want to talk about work politics and how you should conduct yourself at work, especially in this professional capacity, twerking should not be a thing. And if anything, that could make a lot of people uncomfortable. So this is just not it. Okay? That's not it. Let's move forward. Now, first, in this episode especially, what just super stood out to me, this outfit, her suit that she wears. Okay? Now, whenever she wears it as Jen, and she's not in Hulk form, I get that it's oversized because she knows she's going to turn into She-Hulk while she's at work and she needs the extra space. But tell me, why is this suit so baggy and unflattering and not fitted, and why can't she look fabulous? It's like they've purposefully done this, which I think is odd. Now, when you look at the comics, here she has a very fitted suit. She still looks professional and all that, but she's got a fitted suit. It's showing her curves. She looks good. So this is one of my problems when it comes to like stuff being woke, overly woke, is how they treat women, especially in just trying to make them less attractive, less appealing in general. Now, when we see the actual actress herself here in this kind of outfit, she looks stunning. She looks amazing. But there seems to be a very deliberate effort to kind of make her look more plain. And I don't have a picture at this exact time, but you guys know how she looks when she's in her standard form and not in She-Hulk form. It's like, in my opinion, it's like they purposefully kept her, tried to make her look worse. Because like I said, she's beautiful, but they purposefully made her look a lot more plain in this show. And the outdated makeup, the styling, all of that, I feel like it was a deliberate effort. But, I digress. Now, let's go ahead and continue on this story. I want to talk about the humor of it is just not it for me. Now, I know that Twitter seems to disagree. Twitter loved this whole thing. So, this girl, she's drunk every time you see her, right? Wong is introduced in this episode. Wong's a good character. We all know that. But basically, yeah, these two have become some sort of a duo now because they've kind of entangled, kind of crossed paths within the story, and now they're a big part of it together. And she's drunk all the time. It's just stupid. It's cringe humor. I don't get how it's funny. She spoils Sopranos for Wong, I guess, which was kind of like, okay. But Twitter seems to love her. Now, I know this is directed at women, this show in general. So it's one thing to just not like the humor. And I guess their defense would be, hey, this show is meant for women, though. Women have different humor or whatever. But there are better examples of shows or movies geared toward women that actually had really good humor. Look at Mean Girls. Okay. Look at this Rami and Michelle's high school reunion. Both of these were very funny and very, the humor was definitely geared toward women. And they pulled that off. For me, She-Hulk isn't doing it. It's cringe. It's so like some Disney Channel original level of humor, okay? But let's go ahead and continue. So, I want to get into a part that could have been really cool, but first and foremost, this episode is just, as all of them are, but especially this one, it is just overwhelming the amount of times they show men in a bad light, okay? Now, I've said on the Critical Drinkers After Hours show, a lot of you guys watched that, where we talked about the Hulk, and like I said on this show, some of these incidences that this show covers do happen at some capacity. So as a woman, sometimes we are afraid to go out alone. Sometimes there are creepy dudes. Sometimes, the mansplaining stuff in inappropriate situations where it's not warranted. Sometimes things like that kind of happen. To me, the whole mansplaining thing is, some big time first world problems especially. But, I'm just going to say there's certain isolated incidents and things that may be annoying, ranging from annoying to dangerous and fearful for our lives, that do happen on occasion. But the fact that what this show does is just smother you with it non-stop, to the point to where it just seems like a joke. It seems like unrealistic. It's very obvious that they paint men in a bad light, because almost every time you see one, he's either a complete idiot or he's just the biggest jerk or creep or something of that nature, okay? So there is a scene where you see Jennifer Walters walking outside in the dark, and these guys try to kidnap her, right? And she freaks out for a moment, and then she's like, oh wait, I can turn into She-Hulk. She turns into She-Hulk, kicks their butts, and they had Asgardian weapons and all this kind of stuff, but she kicks their butts and they're on their merry way. They get out of there, right? Now, on its own, that actually could have been a cool scene, I think. Okay, here's a situation that is, that could happen to a woman, and then she's able to overcome this with brute strength, in this kind of way. That could have been really cool. But the fact that you constantly see man bad, man bad, man bad, man bad. Oh, this guy was creepy to her at the bar. Oh, this guy mansplained to her just right before. Oh, this other guy said something inappropriate. This guy talking about his dating life and talking about giving details that are a little too, TMI, things like that. So when you see it just bombarded, then all of a sudden she's in a situation that she does overcome like that just completely kills it all. It completely kills how cool of a moment that scene could have been, because of the constant man bashing, which I also might add, they showed some sort of influencer guy talking about She-Hulk, and he's he says something to the effect of, I'm all for female heroes, just make your own. Why is she a spin on a male one? And it's just, first of all, that doesn't apply to this show well, because in this show, She-Hulk is a real character, a real person, a real hero, or whatever you want to call it. This isn't a situation of a comic book character that was made up. She actually exists. So that makes no sense. On top of that, that was just obviously a dig at some more prominent content creators who don't kiss Marvel's butt, essentially, and who don't like to see how they've been portraying a lot of their characters, or whenever they replace male characters, for example, race swaps and things of that nature. So it was definitely a dig at them, okay? Which is constant in this whole thing. But let me kind of get to the main point that I wanted to illustrate. Now, that's with the dating part. Now, when I saw the original trailer, and I really wanted to like this show so bad, I really did, And when I saw the original trailer and saw, oh, she's doing some app dating, this could be funny. This could be fun, right? This could be a fun watch. But this is where things get worse, in my opinion. So she does her dating profile as Jennifer Walters as herself. She's got like her professional headshot on there, and she's not getting a lot of likes. She's not getting a lot of matches, and she's discouraged. So she's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and put my dating profile as She-Hulk instead. And all of a sudden, she got a crap ton of matches. She goes on dates. It just shows like a few guys that she's dating, and they're all, of course, they're all the worst. And they're all doing everything, the worst things that you experience on dating, pretty much. Like, there's this selfish, oh, just only talk about me, or here, making her pay the bill, this, that, and the other. So of course they had to demonstrate a lot of that. But then she starts talking to a guy that she's attracted to, and he's really nice to her and all this stuff. And this is where the double standard really comes into play, because once this guy enters the picture, he is really nice, he's really sweet, and he tells her, like, hey, I don't like talking just about myself. I want to know more about you, and so on and so forth. And just a charming guy compared to the ones that she was dating before. Now, this is where it gets dumb now, okay? Because why is it painted in a bad light? Obviously, we all know it's when you see how the guys were acting that she dated before, yeah, okay, these are idiots. These are douchebags type thing. We can all acknowledge that. But why is it okay when she can act like that is my big question. Because once you got a nice guy who wants to know about her and clearly seems to be well-intended, then she can just sit there and only talk about herself, not ask about him that much, not care that much about who he is as a person, and blah, blah, blah. It's all about her, and that's okay. And not only that, no, this is the worst part, is the entire time she talks to this guy, she's looking at him like he's a piece of meat. She is just completely, you can see it in her eyes, you see whatever she's thinking and the things that she's like, her inner monologue, all this kind of stuff. She is seeing this guy and looking at this guy as a piece of meat that she just, wants to hanky-panky with, but not really see him as a human, okay? So the worst part about, modern day hookup culture, all that kind of crap, that's what she is embodying big time in this. And I guess they think that's an empowering thing, but I think it's a ridiculous double standard in this case, and I also think it's an unhealthy practice in general, regardless of that. But that aside, she looks at him as a piece of meat the entire time. She ends up having to go through one of Wong's portal things and having to fight some demons. And then she comes back and she's just like, okay, where were we? And takes him into the bedroom. It implied that they slept together. The next morning, you see her get up, get ready, make breakfast, and then he walks in the room and he's like, who are you? Because this is who he went on a date with and slept with. And then he wakes up and sees her. And she's like, oh, I'm Jin. This is my normal form type thing. And then he's like, oh, she's like, I made breakfast. He's like, actually, I gotta go. And he bounces, right? This is where I completely disagree with Twitter. Not that that's anything new, but Twitter, those who actually like this show on Twitter, just made this thread about it. I saw a lot of people replying to it and seeming to think that the guy was in the wrong here, which I think is absolutely insane that is even up for debate. They're like, oh, he just said he was just a sweet talker. He said what he wanted to say to get her in the bedroom. That was absolutely not the case. She's the one who initiated the bedroom stuff. She's the one who objectified him. She's the one who looked at him as nothing but a piece of meat. But that's all of a sudden it was his plan all along. That's not at all how that was portrayed in this. Not only that, he had every right to want to walk away and to not want to continue to date her because she deceived him And if anything, this is unconsensual. This is who he thought he was getting with, not this. So she's in the wrong for that. And she was very selfish, and ultimately she used this guy. She used him. But, he's at fault on Twitter. The double standard is just insane. And, there's a lot of cringe woke stuff that's been dropped lately. But this is the worst one I've seen in a long time. And I wanted to really like this, but this is the hardest one for me to watch because, first of all, it's just not entertaining. And secondly, just the double standards, the message that they're trying to push, the man bashing, it is laid on so thick that I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm having an easier time watching Rings of Power at this point, which is also a struggle. But speaking of that, I will be discussing that on Friday Night Tights today at the day of me filming this. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free to do so. We'll be going live soon. So anyway, there you have it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll catch you next time. And in the meantime, go boom.